Okay, so we're actually a bit behind schedule, so I'll just proceed with calling Lénia and Susana on stage. This is actually one of the moments of the conference. This is a data science artificial intelligence event, and we have 3 ladies on stage. Please show yourselves. There's one girl coming out, okay. This is a world of, the gender gap that so very many people talk about. So we've got 3 ladies on stage. They lead what's called the Data Science Knowledge Center here at SBE. Mm-hmm. It's not a very old project, is it? You've started this one?
2 years ago, more or less.
2 years ago, okay. So thank you very much for joining us, and then again, whatever you have to say after that, challenge people to come and work with you because you need resources, you good thinkers, and then doers. Let me just recall that we have the hashtag Insights 2019 on, so please let us hear from you on that.
Okay, so thank you, Guilherme, for the introduction. In fact, today is the last day of Susana's at work before going to have her baby, so I'm extremely grateful to have her here. So our goal for today, can we have the clicker? Let me see if I know how this works. Just clicking here, right? Apparently I don't. Okay, oops, it's working now. So our goal for today is to give you a little bit of information about our unemployment and future of work project. But before that, I will just give you a brief introduction of the work that we are doing at the Data Science Knowledge Center. So, and the first thing that I would like to tell you about is what is the role of data science in a School of Business and Economics. And the thing that I'd like to emphasize here is that, of course, our goal here is not to convert every single leader, every single student into a data scientist, but we all know, given the fast data and technology revolution, that it's crucial for us that our leaders can navigate in the data science space. So our goal here is to give them the skills, is to equip them so that they can have data talks, so that they can identify in their organizations the data challenges, so that they can address the potential ethical challenges that may arise, and ultimately that they can take better decisions through their data. And this, in fact, leads us to our mission in the Data Science Knowledge Center of advancing the knowledge about data-driven decision-making and its impact on society. So we are already walking this talk here at Nova SBE. We are offering several data science-related courses in our bachelor and master's programs. We are launching a new master program based on data science and business analytics next year. And we have also some offer in our executive education catalog on this regard. So how are we organized as a team? How do we operate? And there are 2 important things that I'd like to mention here. So the first one is to have an interdisciplinary team. So what we are trying to do is to put together people from engineering, statistics, maths, machine learning, with management, economics, psychology, that is the case of Susana, and other social sciences. And that's the first thing. The second one is that all the knowledge that we are creating is based on real-world problems. So although we have our roots in academia, what we do is to partner with public sector organizations, with private companies from different industries, with other universities as well, with social impact organizations, so that we can have, let's say, the hub of collaborative knowledge that we want. And of course, the domain expertise that we need in order to solve the problems that we are facing right now. So as a knowledge center, our way of operating is to develop some research, to apply it in real-world problems, and then to develop some knowledge about this, being it case studies, papers, articles, and so on, and then we use this to feed our trainings, to feed our educational programs. Okay, so what are the projects that we are doing right now. We have a couple of them. We work in several different areas. We have long-term and short-term programs. Short-term ones are basically the ones that we are doing under our Data Science for Social Good Summer Fellowship, which is a program that we are developing since 2017 in a partnership with the University of Chicago, led by Raid Ghani. And that brings together basically aspiring data scientists from all over the world to work together and solve social impactful problems. So in a collective way, our center, or the projects that our center does, can range from getting more children vaccinated in Croatia, matchmaking patients and doctors for better outcome results in healthcare, working with the governments in Portugal and Italy to get better plans, to develop better plans for sustainable tourism. We have also studying the gender differences in political discourse. We are identifying antibiotic under and over prescription. So there's quite a lot of cases that we are working with. But I think what is mostly or is more important for me in terms of our projects or the impact that we are creating in all of these projects is that apart or in addition to the impact that we are creating with our data science models, what we are seeing is that we are really shifting the culture of the organizations that we are working with. So it comes out, let's say, our educational role in this kind of projects. And IFP is the public Portuguese National Agency for Employment and Vocational Training. They are our main partner in the Unemployment and Future of Work project. And for me, this is very interesting to see with them, because we have started working with them 2 years ago, and basically now they talk like data scientists. They know all the concepts about data science. They know how to run a data science project. What are the phases? What are the main questions? What do we need to do in each one of them? They know how to identify data challenges in other areas. They are doing that and discussing them with us. So they really know how to use their data as the force for good now. So we feel that they are shifting from a much more traditional organization in terms of decision-making, problem-solving, and so on, towards something much more data-driven culture, let's say. And that I think is super interesting and super important for us, especially given the state of data science in Portugal and more concretely in our public services. So I'm super enthusiastic about this project, but I hope you just get a very quick sense about our work in the Data Science Knowledge Center. Please get in touch, and now I will hand over to Susana and little Amalia to present you the Unemployment and Future of Work project. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, thank you a lot for being here. I'm super excited about this opportunity to share our work that we have been doing with the Institute for Employment and Vocational Training in Portugal. I've been working on this project for the past year, and it's been an awesome experience. So this should come to no surprise to anyone, right? Unemployment is a very stressful experience. It provokes a lot of negative feelings and even decreases physical health. And this is also important in our work, in our project. The more effort a person needs to put into a job search, the more negative the consequences are. IEFP tries to lessen the burden of this job search of unemployment by trying to facilitate, to help people get a job, obviously. So what usually happens when someone is unemployed is that they would register at IEFP and then have an appointment with a counselor that would devise a plan in collaboration with the person on what is the best path of interventions that would lead to a positive outcome, such as the person getting a job. So we have different interventions that are possible, that are offered by IEFP and their partners, such as group sessions, trainings, and individual sessions. And all these interventions are drafted into a personal employment plan that hopefully will lead to the final positive result we want, the employment. However, this is not always the case, or at least it's not always easy to find this positive outcome. In fact, in 2018, almost 50% of people who were registered at IEFP were registered for more than 1 year, so they were considered long-term unemployment. And this is obviously something very negative for people in this situation, and that's why IEFP is trying to reduce this rate. It's trying to reduce the rate of people who end up being long-term unemployed, end up being LTU. So back in 2011, IEFP developed a system that tries to identify people that are in higher risk of becoming LTU and tries to identify them so that they can intervene with these people earlier. And the way they do it is that if you are perceived as being high risk of becoming LTU, you get extra help. You get extra interventions put in your personal employment plan. However, this system has a lot of problems. To start, it's very outdated. So it was developed in 2011 using data from 2010. We were in the peak crisis years, and so it may not be totally applicable for the current years. It's also static, so it doesn't take into account whether a person is unemployed for 1 month or 11 months. So if you register today, you get a score, and that score accompanies you for your entire unemployment period. It also doesn't consider anything that you did at IEFP, so it doesn't take into account the trainings you already had, the job offers you already applied to, so it just looks at the demographics of a person. And finally, it's not informative to the counselors. So we actually conducted focus groups with counselors at IEFP to try to find out what was their opinion about the system. And we found out that actually it's just a number on the screen for them. They don't really understand it. They don't understand how the model was developed, what it means, what's behind it, and it ends up being inconsequential. It doesn't have any true impact on a person's path. So that's where we came in a couple of years ago, and actually we are trying to improve this system to try to reduce the rates of LTU at the IEFP. We have two main goals in mind. The first one is, can we actually deliver a better machine learning model, one that has a better performance, has lower error rates, and also that it's dynamic, so that it takes into account everything that the individual did at IEFP and how long he or she has been unemployed. And finally, we also want to deliver a system that counselors would trust and use on their day-to-day activities. But I'm going to talk more about this second point later. For now, let me talk a little bit about our modeling. So partnering with IEFP, we got 12 years of transactional history, data from 2007 to 2018. We got anonymized data from 3.1 million individuals on features such as their demographic information, their professional history, their history with their IEFP, so for example, how many times they were registered, and whether they were already LTU in the past. We also had information about which trainings they already attended and what was the outcome, the offers that they applied to, and the number of times they were summoned, and whether they actually attended this summoned or not. So we were super ambitious, and instead of developing a single machine learning model, we ended up developing 4. And we have a good reason for this. So remember, we wanted to have a dynamic model. So we wanted to have a model that would accompany a person throughout their unemployment history. So it would take into account whether a person was registered for 1 month or 6 months, 11 months. And as I said in the beginning, the LTU is defined as being unemployed for at least 12 months in a row. So if a person just registered at IEFP, we want to predict whether they are going to stay 12 more months, right? They are going to stay 1 year. But if a person is already 6 months unemployed, we don't want to predict 12 more months anymore. We want to predict 6 additional months. And so we developed these four models, which each of them will be applied to a different stage of the individual's unemployment period. In the future, we actually are looking forward to combine these 4 models in a single classifier, using, for example, chain modeling, to see if we can improve our predictive power by combining them in some way. So I'm going to do this super quick notes about modeling. I don't want to bother you too much, but I'm happy to talk about these more at the end of my talk. So we built our models using Triage, which is a package developed by our partners at the Center for Data Science and Public Policy at the University of Chicago, which is a super cool project, super complete, that I encourage you to check out if you have interested in this area. We used temporal cross-validation to validate our models. The metric we chose to evaluate the models was precision edge case, sorry. And we evaluated the models for fairness and bias using Equitage, which was also developed by our partners at the University of Chicago. And just to give you an idea, this model tries to this package tries to show us whether we are doing okay in several different groups of the population or whether we are actually discriminating specific groups. Going back to this idea, we have this firm belief that even the best model, even the best classifier with the best performance is not good unless it's actually adopted by the people at the unemployment centers. So we actually wanted to develop the best model possible, but most importantly, we want to develop a model that counselors could trust, that counselors would find useful on their day-to-day jobs. But we don't want blind trust. We actually want counselors to be able to challenge the model when they need to. Obviously, counselors have access to information that the model doesn't have. The model doesn't know it all. So we want to create this hybrid decision-making system where the model and the counselors work together, where the model is informative but doesn't undermine the counselor's agency. Counselors should have the final word. So we need to develop a model that it's useful and trustworthy, but not overpowering for the counselors. And that's the work we are doing now. We are actually going to launch a pilot really soon to try to understand if our system is fulfilling these goals. We are going to work with 12 centers of IEFP, and we are going to send them different versions of an interface of the model. And we are going to see which interface actually helps counselors work better with the tool. So, for example, some centers have additional information about the modeling, how it was developed. We gave them training about machine learning models in general. We showed the errors. We showed the limitations and the potentialities of the model. Other centers, for example, have additional information at the level of the individual. Why did the model say that this person in specifically is high risk or low risk? But throughout our work with IEFP, throughout our work with our partners, something started to become really clear and really obvious. We are diagnosing a disease, but we are not giving any medicine to the counselors. So we are basically saying that someone is at high risk of becoming LTU, but then providing no answers about how to actually prevent this to happen. And so this takes us to the next step in our project. A typical appointment with IFP takes more or less 20 to 25 minutes. And in this time, the counselor needs to consider the characteristics of the person that they have in front of them. So all the specifics of the current person, their constraints. Also needs to consider the job market characteristics of the region where they are operating. And finally, they need to select from dozens of different interventions. And this is all in a very short time, right? So it's actually really hard for the counselor to have everything in mind and develop a model that it's informative enough so that they can end up having a personal employment plan that is actionable and will truly help the person. So our idea is that maybe we can help the counselors to bridge the gap between the skills that the person already has and the skills that are currently required by the job market in terms of the interventions that IAFP can offer. So if we can actually develop a system that takes into account the skills of the individual and the job market needs, and then find interventions that bridge this gap, then we can help counselors to develop a personal employment plan that is better. So in order to be able to do this recommender system of specific interventions to individuals and specific jobs for individuals, our plan is to build a representation of skills that are held by people, required by jobs, and then provided by interventions, and understand which sequences of interventions lead to better outcomes. And this should be specific for individuals and different regions. And then we can actually recommend sets of interventions and jobs that are tailored to the needs and constraints of individuals. With this in mind, we are hoping that we can complement the counselor's work, developing hybrid decision-making systems that enhance their ability to help others, and crucially, that help individuals find a job in an ever-changing labor market. As we know, we are going to to be posing a lot of challenges in the future. And so we want to help counselors, help individuals to adapt and reinvent themselves so that they can also be more successful on their job searches. And remember, we are talking about a very vulnerable population, so this is really important. And that's all I had. I actually wanted to take the final minute that I have left to thank you, the team that is behind this project. It has been an amazing adventure to be with them on this project and be able to work with them. It's my last day of work, so I'm really grateful for being here. And I wanted to also thank you, the IEFP, because they have been amazing partners in this process, and it's been a really, really, really cool experience. And thank you.
Susana, thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Get another data scientist from you. Thank you very much, both of you. Very interesting example of AI serving the country.